Mr. Gold, or is your name really Judy? I don't know. These days it could be.
It's David.
I know that.
Yeah, I know. Okay, sorry.
Hey, everyone.
Hey,
Hi.
Hi.
Hi there, David and David.
Hi, Nisha. So have you found fl5.org yet, Nisha?
FL5.org?
Yeah, I'm just seeing who's accidentally bumped into it yet.
No, I haven't.
Okay, fl5.org is the location, the website for our 5 amendments, including the Florida, including the right to clean water amendment, the primary one.
So when I type it's FL like 5 written out? Or the number 5?
Just fl5.org. You can just go into, that's the website.
But
The address, right.
Yeah, but the 5, it's not the number 5, it's 5 written out.
The number 5, yeah.
Oh, because I clicked on FL5, or I put FL5 in the URL, and it doesn't bring me to a website.
Did you go .org on it or no?
Oh, it's .org. Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
because usually I think it looks for a .com if you just don't type anything else.
Gotcha. Oh, here we are.
Yeah, the website for you being a professional, you can see immediately how sucky the website is really. But the first version was horrible. The first version
I think
didn't have it.
It looks great to me.
It does now. It does now.
Yeah, no, and it's like it loads really fast, and it has all of the information that you need right up front. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, the having, super snazzy like graphics and stuff is secondary to that to me. So I think it looks great.
What it was this though, when I first came on, if at 100%, I couldn't see anything. I couldn't even see, I don't think, the 3 lines that are on the left-hand side of a mobile, okay, to bring the page up. And my pages are always at like 80 or 90%, maybe, 100%, so I can see things, because, I have trouble viewing things. So at 90% didn't help it. At 80%, I think the screen, the image that was up there went black, and I could then see along the hand side, the in small characters, the names of the individual amendments, and so that had to be fixed. Okay, and it's still not. It's still you can still increase your page size and make it go smaller and still lose them, but it's much better than it was. You can't lose the whole thing altogether. And it doesn't lose it in the higher percentages, like 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 in there, which was what concerned me.
Sure.
Plus it now has a fax on there, which was Lou Merritt did that, came up with that for us. And
nice.
Then we've been adding to it. So it's just this is what a week's worth of work, has given us based on it. But there's all 5 amendments on there for people to look at, and the as well as the right to clean water one, which everyone should pretty much know, what's in there already.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, the only difference between that and safe for really, when it comes down to it, is that the right to clean water amendment also grants to local government, if they deem that they need to pass more stringent protection for water locally than the state has, they can do so, and it's not preemptible.
Okay.
So we're scratching back some of that home rule we've been losing all these years. So.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, no, I'll definitely dig through this later. Yeah,
I had to sit on it for like the last 2 weeks, and and part of it was because the state hadn't finished their job, and then we had getting this page together. But I'll send some more information out through Mark, the next day or two now, and now I can ramp up to full speed working on this stuff.
Yeah, perfect.
In between packing up everything to move. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I guess we're expecting Bob Tanzing to give his run-through presentation today. I don't see him here yet. George and Bettina just joined.
I don't either. You want me to call him, give him a...
Sure. I mean, there's not much of an agenda without him today.
Oh yeah, I was about to say it.
And
that's why I was filling time.
Yeah, sure. One thing that I wanted to maybe touch on, well, we can go ahead and if anybody has anything that's they'd want to add to the agenda today, or anything within the minutes that they wanted to comment on from last month's minutes, those items we can take care of right now. And one thing that I maybe wanted to just briefly discuss today is just the possibility of doing the in-person again, the in-person format. I was just curious as to maybe if Mark, if you can speak to other groups and what they've been doing, and if other groups have gone back to being in person. I know that the world, or the US at large is generally feeling more comfortable with that again. And so that's something just that we can kind of reconsider. That way we can, actually make motions and whatnot.
Well, Nisha, I'm on the City Parks and Recreation Board, and we've started having meetings, and our meetings are where the commissioners meet or in the basement of that building. Usually at our meeting, there are just the few people who are in our group and our agent and a recording artist, and that's about it. But we've been meeting there now for several months.
Okay.
That's with the city.
Do you have like a dual format where some people are virtual, or is everybody just present in person?
I think everyone's present in person.
Okay. Yeah, because that was my reservation about the last time, David, that you had, not David Gold, sorry, Moritz, the last time that you had brought it up, I was kind of not sure how the like hybrid format would work if some people were tuning in through Zoom and then some people were there in person, if that would mesh. And the presentations, if they were in person, would the Zoom people see them and vice versa? So I don't know if that's been an issue. Do you happen to know, Mark, if any groups have ran into an issue with that?
The only issue's been that that you can only have one monitor in the in-person meeting. Otherwise, with multiple, if you say you had 5 or 6 individuals in one room, only one monitor would be allowed, because if everybody had their laptop, then there would be the audio would get screwed up. It would overlap each other because of delay. And so they learned that the best thing to do is just have one laptop, and then all the people sit around the table and just watch that laptop, and vice versa, that those that are watching virtually can see pretty much everybody around the table.
It could be fit through the overhead though, couldn't it? Because our meeting room has one of those overheads and a very nice, display screen in there. So, we could have a nice big display screen there too.
For whatever reason, and Forrest has been doing this with the CCAC, they haven't done that. I don't know if there's some kind of a connection problem, but they just been using the laptop. And he's been able to get him and one other person to do the laptop. I think if you have multiple laptops, but having said that, for the CCAC, none of the members have been meeting virtually. So
No, I wasn't speaking of having more than one laptop. I was saying, your laptop could, instead of feeding it into the output to the display, you could feed the output through the projector, and we can see that in much larger, on the wall.
yeah, I was saying the laptop the monitor we have, I don't know why they haven't done that, but I can check into that and see. But your question overall is, most of the committees are meeting only like every other month. And they're doing either virtual or hybrid, and hybrid has only been enough members to potentially, if there's something to vote on.
We're enthusiastic.
Right. There's not an overriding demand to go back. I would put it that way. And some of it, I'm not just saying COVID, it's just in general. It's as you all know, it sometimes can be somewhat of an inconvenience if you got to drive downtown and
And then we had a reason to do it though, and we still didn't come in because, I wanted to see us make a recommendation to the board to support the right to clean water amendment that's coming up. And
Right.
that was all we really needed to do. And, we could have gotten a resolution from them. And since we didn't make it, I guess, the board probably considered, if we didn't feel it was important enough for us to make a recommendation, they didn't feel it was important enough to do a resolution.
I don't know what's happening on, as far as, I don't know if there's a thought that hopefully that everybody can see the value of virtual, and that why do we go backwards? The technology's there. It's not like in terms of voting issues,
it should be integrated. It should be integrated and become part of our normal operations now. People should be able to vote over,
Right.
And the corporation I set up for the right to clean water, everyone that's on that board can vote by email if they want to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely like the virtual format most of the time. It's just easier to get to the meeting. And, but I mean, it would be great if we were allowed to vote this way as well.
Yeah. And there's no reason why we couldn't, because it's
only advisory.
Well,
they allow to vote on online like this. They just don't allow us to do it because it's just their way of controlling counties, I think.
David, after all, we're only advisory, so.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point, George. And evidently that was brought up to the governor's office, that why should this apply to a voluntary citizen advisory? And they just, the comment is, rather than try to pick and choose, that they would just say any, meeting that could be open to the public should still have a quorum of live, physical. And so I don't know that is that going to change?
Yeah.
But probably eventually. I mean, is it changing now? No. I mean, nothing we've received guidelines wise that they're, changing their process right now. So,
David, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, that's all I had, Nisha, on that. So, if you wanted to have a meeting, of physical attendees, that we can do that at Siegel Building and in the conference room if you wanted to. I think if you have something that you wanted to vote on, it would be easier to have that in a meeting or workshop beforehand, so that everybody knows what they're approving, and then we could actually keep the workshop or meeting at the Siegel Building to a short meeting maybe. But again, that just depends on how y'all want to do that.
True. I had a preliminary of the right to clean water amendment. Now everyone has access to it. For those who weren't here when I gave the address to it, the website for the right to clean water amendment to the Florida Constitution is now at fl5.org. And you can go there. You'll find that, and the other four that we're also supporting. But the Florida right to the right to clean water amendment is the one that it's kind of primary.
That'll come up as a link.
Actually, the wetlands one is pretty cool too, for what it's worth, and a couple of the others are really neat.
David, did Bob get back to you, or?
No, he wasn't there, and so I assume he's tied up somewhere. And
Okay.
I will talk to him before the meeting tomorrow, because I want to make sure that everything's okay. Then he'll be there for the meeting.
Yeah.
I would like to make a comment about going to a meeting in person. Now, where we're meeting, where the commissioners sit, there are masks on everyone and glass dividing walls between people who are in chairs separated. And I've begun to feel safe in there, whereas I probably wouldn't have much before this. So that's just a little feedback on what it's like to be in those meetings. I haven't felt vulnerable. Of course, I had my vaccine months ago, but
yeah,
I hope a lot of the people have had their vaccines.
It might be starting to wear off for some of us now. We've had it that long.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we can you know, maybe be strategic, kind of like what Mark was saying about, you know, having in-person meetings when we feel like we need to actually, you know, vote on something, make a motion on something, or we can do like a format where, you know, every other meeting is in person or something like that, that we can kind of, I mean, since we're not really able to recommend anything to the board at this time, or
Right.
to the, to the city or county commission.
Well, particularly if those people that are physically willing to meet are vaccinated.
Mhm.
Right now, staff have been told, you know, that they encourage to continue to wear masks, but that if you're vaccinated, that it's not a requirement. So I think the same would be applied for um, the advisory committees, but that would be how y'all want to handle that from that standpoint. And at the same time, you could rotate, you know, if you wanted to have somebody physically meet and just rotate out. The county commission did that for a while. Now they all attend at the commission chambers, but before it was, you know, half and half, switch from one month to the next as to which ones are in the administration building versus virtual. So. you
Yeah.
could
By
do
the
it
way,
that
while the
way, too.
numbers are down real low, the science still tells us that you can still get the you know, COVID, even if you've gotten the gotten the vaccine.
Right.
And about 2% of the people that are getting it or, you know, reinfecting it are dying from it. So, you know, it's not an instant, you know, guarantee that it's not going to affect you.
Mhm.
Just so everyone knows. And if you're in a situation with a lot of people and you don't know if people are protected or not, wear a mask. You know.
All right, you're saying that people that have been vaccinated, among those vaccinated who actually get the infection, 2% die?
Yeah, and it's a very low percentage. It's like less than 5% because, you know, that was the original like 95%, depending upon which vaccine you got, I guess. But you know, I think it's not even that 5% are getting the, you know, what they call breakthrough cases. But of the breakthrough cases that they're seeing, and I can give you the exact numbers on it. I'll send it to Mark and he can pass it out. The 2% of those that are actually getting it are dying from it, meaning that, you know, a certain number of people who have been, you know, had both their shots are still getting infected at some point in time and dying from COVID-19. It's just, it's not perfect, you know. I mean, you know, people are
Sure.
they're still at risk from it. Maybe a small
Sure.
risk, but if it's you or me, then it's no longer a small risk, right?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I want to keep, I guess, that option for in-person on the table. And I don't know if we have anything going on next month to warrant that. But yeah.
We might still try to get together and see if we can't ask for a resolution. I mean, I had a chance to read through the amendment and, you know,
Sure.
we've had a chance to discuss it even some. I mean, you know, why not?
Okay. So maybe we'll get a count like we did last time of how many people would be willing to come in person. David, if you feel like we can do that at the next meeting.
Yeah, why not?
If it's still, you know, the time, I know the timing isn't ideal, but it's better now than.
And in a month, it'll be a little bit better yet because that many more people will have been vaccinated. Right now, I think there was like 123 people across the nation yesterday. That is extremely low. We were looking at
Mhm.
you know, numbers of infections over. We actually did have one over 300,000, although the news doesn't report that.
Yeah.
We were the first ones to get over 300,000, you know, in the world, and that's a heck of a lot more than the 123 that, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Does anybody have anything else? I think we should give it till what, 6:30 if Bob is a no-show and doesn't have any response. David, maybe we'll call it.
Do we have questions we want to ask them? If we got that? Yeah, Tina's there.
I have three things actually. I don't know
Sure.
when I should, if you
Go
want to-
ahead. We're killing time, so go ahead.
Okay, so if you are killing time, I would like to suggest, I don't know if I want to make a motion, maybe talk about it first, but I would like to, when I forgot who gave this presentation, but somebody talked about the wastewater stream and that currently human waste is not being separated from industrial waste. And that person thought that was a big problem. And I always wondered about that because human waste, you know, you could use as fertilizer once it's appropriately treated. And so I'm very interested, you know, first of all, in learning how the waste stream is set up in Gainesville. I guess, you know, it's just one huge waste stream. If there is discussion of separating it down the road, and if not, maybe we could initiate that discussion. And I know, I guess people are very hesitant of doing that because it's extremely expensive. I see that, but I think the long-term benefits would outweigh the expense, and we have to start, you know, somehow, somewhere. So that's one topic I'm really interested in. And then the other one has to do with mowing. There's a lot of mowing everywhere. And I know Alachua County is already trying very hard to curb mowing and to let the wildflowers grow for pollinators and other animals. But I think there could still be improvement in that area as well. And I talked to Lacey, Mark, I'm sure you know Lacey Kreider.
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of wanted her to talk to us, to EPAC, but she said they have a different chain of command. And, you know, I couldn't just have her come and talk. But I talked to her, you know, in private, and she said that one department, I think it's non-functional right now, actually, it's the Parks Department, and they do a lot of mowing in the Parks Department. So that is areas where there is no traffic anyways. And she thinks, you know, that that would be the place to start if we want to make an impact in terms of stopping the mowing. So I would like to explore all of that. I don't know very much about it. I just know the mowing bothers me and many, many other people tremendously, the constant mowing. And then number 3, I'm really interested also to learn more about this program that Alachua County has in place already, and I just learned about it. Maybe I'm ignorant, but I'm just hoping that some of you also don't know about this. That they pay you to convert lawn, like, you know, the grass that people have in front of their houses, to convert lawn to Florida-friendly landscaping. So I'm really interested in that program. And maybe, I think Stacey Greco is handling that, so maybe she could come back and give us a little presentation on that and explain how it works. I asked around in my neighborhood, and apparently nobody knew about this program. And that's another thing I found, that I am extremely interested in all these things, and I find myself several times already where I was wondering, oh wow, they are doing this. How come I didn't know about it? So I don't know, maybe there could also be better advertising, et cetera, et cetera. Anyways, those are 3 things I find very interesting, and I think, you know, it would be great if we could incorporate them into our EPAC meetings.
Thanks, Bettina. Yeah, go ahead, David.
Yeah, I want to comment on a couple of those items. One of them, I'm not sure that that mixing in industrial and human waste streams is a great idea, simply because there are, you know, pathogens in the human waste stream that we don't want getting mixed back in. But, you know, as long as we can solve those problems, you know, yeah, I mean, that's obviously, you know, a way of putting some nutrients to good use. But I think we need to discuss that some. Right now, you know, the way that they do things or tend to do things, I don't think we want to trust them with doing that right. Mowing, I think we do want some mowing. I think it isn't, George can tell us, but I think there's like an ideal length that grass is at. You don't want to cut it as short as people always do seem to cut it. You want to leave some, but then you leave the clippings there. You don't get them up, because then that actually, feeds the plant. So people do that wrong. And then the last one, lawn conversion. Oh yeah, Stacy is in charge of that. She's been doing that for just years. And she'll be heartbroken that you didn't know about that, because that means that there's something in her, and her campaign is failing, and maybe you should let her know that, whatever she's doing, she just needs to work that much more. She loves that. By the way, she's great at that program and does it. That's an absolutely fantastic program. I'm really proud of the county does that.
Yes, and I want to participate in that program. And am I the only one who didn't know about this among the
Yeah,
EPAC
yeah.
members?
You and Jeff, and David, I guess, not this one.
Yeah.
David, were you raising your hand to say that you didn't know about it, or did you have a question?
Right, I don't know about it, and it sounds like a good program. I'm surprised I don't know about it because I'm a neighborhood activist.
It's a turf swap. That's what it is.
It's a turf swap
Yes.
program. I can provide, or I get it from Stacy, a public notification. She sends out periodically to individuals that want to, nominate their yard to basically remove portions of sod in your lawn and go to a more natural or xeriscape or Florida natives, or options that are more native related, and they have so much money per, I guess I want to say it's $5,000. That seems a little high, but there's so much money that they can allocate towards, people wanting to swap out their lawn for something native.
I did that in my lawn about, gradually over the past 30 or 40 years, and it just looks like a wild forest in my yard. And I've got some boastful signs out front.
Mhm.
Tons of bird feeders, lots of birds. And I
For
changed.
those of
And how
you
many-
interested, in the Florida Friendly Landscaping Program that Bettina mentioned, the easiest thing that I've always found to find stuff on the University of Florida IFAS Extension website is to, there's an electronic database with all the publications, extension publications, for those of you that might not know that. And it's got thousands of publications and fact sheets on it. And you can go to the, it's called EDIS, EDIS. It's an acronym for, I think it's Extension Digital Information Source, EDIS. What I find easiest to do is to go into Google, type EDIS, and then the topic that you're looking for. In this case, Florida Friendly Landscaping, and boom, you'll come up with it. It's a big program. FDEP supports it, and it has a lot of information on it for, for doing. It doesn't preclude grass, lawn. In fact, lawns are can be part of a Florida Friendly Landscaping, but it gives you all kinds of information on how to manage water, insects, fertilizer, the type of plant that you plant, all kinds of stuff. So it's well worth taking a peek at it.
So let me ask you a question. What do you think of the fact that they moved the extension service out of its location near our airports? Now it's far away out there in Williston or something. You all know about this?
Yeah,
I might be able to answer some of that. I was in the master. I'm in the Master Gardeners, and we were located at the extension office
Right.
on 39.
Me too.
The building was falling down, number one, and they didn't want to invest in it. And the county wanted to get rid of the property that was connected to the fairgrounds, the old
Right.
fairgrounds.
Right.
And the county's been trying to sell the fairgrounds forever. And they finally found, the military said, we'll come in and we'll buy it, but we want the whole thing, which included the extension office and their grounds. So they had to move the office somewhere else. And so that they ended up putting it out in Newberry, which is kind of going to be complicated because Newberry has now decided not to be Alachua County, or at least they're talking about getting out of Alachua County. So how are we going to have Alachua County? I don't know. this fall. As far as that Tina was talking about, there was a program in Wright County that would actually financially help homeowners who wanted
Yes,
to convert from lawns to Florida-friendly landscaping.
that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know the website. I can look it up. No, I wasn't napping. I was listening. I know all about Florida Friendly, but it's not on that website. It's not under Florida Friendly. It's under something else.
Yeah.
But it's a county program, Alachua County program.
And Stacy
Exactly.
Greco's
And they
the
pay
leader.
you. They pay you to replace your lawn.
Well, I don't know that they pay you, but they help support the purchase. They help you financially, but I wouldn't call it paying you.
It's just
Right.
the turf, just of trading out turf. That's the only part of it I think they do.
Okay, so, but I guess we all know a little bit here and then it would be nice to know exactly what's going on. I also would like to know what is the success rate of this program.
Yeah,
They
I
always-
like that idea.
They always have more people wanting to do it than they have money for.
Right.
So
Right.
I would say it's pretty successful.
Okay.
I mean, if we want to, and somebody related to either that or I don't know if the EPD or has any control over the policies related to mowing, or if there's some kind of presentation potential around that we could have somebody speak on, or what was the other one that you mentioned, Bettina?
Human waste and
Okay.
industrial waste, like the separation of those two waste streams.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was this person who talked about agriculture, and I forgot who it was, and he thought that was a very, very important topic. I could check my minutes.
It was
From the last
somebody from
meeting.
the last meeting who spoke on that.
Not the last meeting, I think it was 2 or 3 meetings ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And he thought it was really, really important, that we stop mixing those two waste streams, because all the organic matter associated with human waste is being lost.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I'm somewhat familiar with the program for the human waste disposal, and it's highly, highly regulated. And even though I know that when I was working in Polk County, they would have actually human waste transported from Miami to spread into certain pasture areas. And just the cost, as you can imagine, of transporting on trucks to transport material in this basically slurry spreading, it was exorbitant. But they have to
The
have,
key word to look that up is brownfields.
it's very specific on the soil types, what crops, if you can't really have crops, it's basically pasture grass is the only thing you can spread it on. It's extremely expensive and highly regulated, so it's typically not done. But having said that, I mean, there are facilities that actually do a dry down of it, kind of like the compost you buy at Home Depot, where it's dry manure. And so there are places that do that with, human, waste, but it's like, it's just few and far between. It's highly regulated. And as David indicated, mixing it with industrial, it just, they wouldn't, nobody could accept that material if there's a mixing of it with other forms of waste. As far as the mowing, what I envision Lacey was indicating, there's the conservation section, which is under EPD. They minimize the amount of mowing. Those are preservation areas. The park side of it are more the recreational parks that are ball fields and, some degree of trails, and those are mowed. And in large part, they almost have to just because of safety reasons. And I know this has become, in a related issue, has become an issue at Camp McConnell. And we had some issues there because you're going to have along the lake where they're going to have canoe launches, and it gets overgrown with native grasses as well as, you know, pasture grasses. And the concern is when you have that many children right next to the lake in canoes, and you have an area that's wet, and in some cases underwater, that attracting snakes. And then in those cases, we're trying to work in working with the Parks Department, minimize the amount of area to mow, like 300-foot wide swath area. So it's a balancing act. And so when Lacey was referring to areas that we're mowing, it's not that Parks wants to go out and mow just everything, because I mean, you're talking about a huge budget, but there are areas they have to mow. And the same way with the Public Works Department in terms of like roadside mowing because of safety reasons. So it's that drives a lot of the priorities on where they mow. And in the case of the Public Works Department, one of the things that they do in trying to minimize and looking at mowing is that they have over 100 sites that are documented that they have to mow to keep the Kogan grass under control.
Wait 1 minute. You're not supposed to mow Kogan grass.
You do before it goes to seed. If you don't mow it before it goes to seed, it'll just keep spreading down the right of way. So they actually, in those areas, they either have to spray it.
But you don't have to have seed. Kogan grass doesn't require seed to spread.
You're right. They try to spray all those areas, but they can't get to everything. And so some areas they have to mow just to try to keep it down. But it's spreading so much that
that's because they're mowing it. Okay.
Well,
I mean, the people that are doing good control on Kogan grass recommend against it 100%. I mean, it's just not to do. And I've talked to the commission about that. So I'm surprised that, you know, to hear that that's a practice that's still going on.
It's one of the tools in the tool bag, David, and that's all that they're trying to do is try to minimize the even though most of it's spreading by rhizome, the seed head is getting, you know, where they have to keep it down. So that's their minimum amount of area compared to what all they mow. But I'm just saying that it's not that the Public Works Department or Parks purposely goes out and tries to mow as much grass as possible. It's actually they have a limited budget and they have to pick and choose areas that they can get them, you know, they have to do it primarily because of safety. And
well,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I heard somewhat different information. And also, I think a lot of times people just say, oh, because of safety. And I'm not sure if that, you know, is always 100% true. I mean, that's my opinion. And I do think, you know, it would be very interesting to discuss this.
Does anybody have like a speaker that comes to mind that could maybe present some information around that issue?
Are you talking about public, or are you talking about the public sector?
Somebody with an expertise around it, or somebody who is involved in the policy around it.
I'm sure we can find someone. Nisha.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Well, I managed 19 staff in Hillsborough County, and their priorities were mowing right away and stormwater basins. And we had, you know, as you can imagine, hundreds of miles to mow. We did not mow based on that we just wanted to mow. We had to prioritize based on limited budget, and every public works department's like that. And it's not because they, you know, trying to generate work. You cannot physically get to everywhere that you'd like to mow for safety reasons alone, much less to just mow willy-nilly. And the problem is that if you don't maintain those areas, that when you get to a point that it's not maintained and you have to mow, then it becomes so prohibitive because you can't get bush hogs big enough to mow those areas. And so what happens if there's an auto accident along a right of way and somebody gets hurt and they can blame it on vegetation, then it puts municipalities in a liability situation.
You know, it's slated next month. We can have her come back potentially.
I liked
and then-
her. I'd like to see her again.
Yeah, she was good.
I'd like to say one thing. In the conversation about cow manure versus human manure, for years I loaded cow manure into my gardens. But the whole idea of human manure is much more risky, and I don't think it's even worth talking about. We got to treat that before we can do anything with it. So, and who knows what the treatment they recommend is, but cow manure is used commonly in agriculture.
Yeah. So,
So are we going to call our meeting to an end soon? It appears that he's not coming.
yeah, I don't think Bob is coming, but I do want to remind everybody that the community conversation is tomorrow at 6 p.m. And since everybody got the link to this meeting, I assume you got the link right below it to the conversation tomorrow. One thing that that we did want to have prepared ahead of time were some questions for Bob. For the conversation or the Q&A portion. I'm going to prepare something to send over to Mark ahead of that meeting later tonight. And if anybody else wants to do the same, I don't know if anybody has already sent over some questions, but it would be good, I think, for Bob to have that to work with if we don't get questions from the audience.
I had a short list of them, but I was going to wait and go through tonight and listen to his presentation, and then, you know, see which ones fit in where, and you know, and go from there with it. But
Sure.
I think that's an excellent idea. Let's do it that way so that we've got something.
Okay,
Yeah, that
great.
was kind of what I was hoping for tonight, but you know, if I don't have his phone number, I only got his email address. So, I mean, if David, you could reach out to him and just make sure he shows up tomorrow night.
That's
I
my
mean,
intention. I left him in message, and as I said, I will contact him between, you know, tonight and tomorrow, and to let everyone know whether, you know, whether he's alive and kicking. You know, I mean, and we'll see what's going on. You know, maybe there's sort of problems that would keep him from doing the presentation, and if so, I'll notify you so that we can cancel it. Otherwise, I'm counting on him to be there. I did get an email from him on another matter yesterday, so shouldn't be a problem.
I mean, it'd probably be good if he provided you and I and at least Nisha a copy of his PowerPoint in case something, not that if he would get delayed or something, that, or that if we needed a backup in terms of that we can show it visually on Zoom, then at least we can have it, a copy of it. And we did that the last meeting just to have something back up. We didn't need it, but it's just good to have that. But if he doesn't have it ready, then that's fine too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, y'all know David, and y'all know, you know, Bob. I mean, he does a great job, and he knows what he's talking about, and it's.
And he's very.
I don't see any
dependable, too, so I'm
problem as
surprised he
long
didn't
as,
go for
you
that.
know, if anything, it's going to be, you want to keep the presentation to an hour is going to be the most difficult part.
Yeah.
And that's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know,
It's
It's
very
better than
problem
the
solved.
opposite problem.
I'm not sure I'd have
Yeah,
that, but I think, no, just as long as he can make that connection and that he's okay, you know, that if we need to cancel, that we need to
Yeah.
kind of put the word out, you know, tomorrow, but
Okay, shall we adjourn?
That's my
But
job.
You can always
Just
make a
kidding.
motion.
I mean, we're not having a meeting, so I'm saying,
Yeah, no. Yeah, I think so. Unless there's any final comments anybody wants to get out, but we've got some potential topics for next month. And then tomorrow, obviously, the community conversation. Hopefully, everybody can participate and join.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. All right,
Great.
everyone. It was good to see everyone, and yeah, looking forward to tomorrow.
Thank you
okay,
all,
everyone,
especially
all the
Nisha
best.
and also
Right.
Mark. Thank you for
All right.
taking time to come and do this for us again, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Night.
Thank you. Goodbye. Good night.
Bye. Good night.